Missy, last week, revisiting Steel Magnolias was such a heartfelt journey. It's amazing how a film can still tug at our emotions even after all these years. It brought back so many memories, and having Jackie Giese on our show was such a treat. She gave us some insider stories that made the film even more special.
She really did. And you are right, talking about after all the years, our emotions. Like, I sent you a picture of all the Kleenex I went through as we recorded the podcast. That doesn't even include the times that I watched the movie preparing for it, right? Like, I went through a whole box of Kleenex through Steel Magnolias. But you're exactly right. Jackie's stories, knowing the real life inspiration of the characters, it was priceless. It felt like we were, I don't know, maybe getting like a backstage pass, right, to the heart of the movie. I absolutely loved it.
Yes, and I cannot get over, just like you were saying, how the emotion, how much we laughed and cried and have seen it just a bazillion times.
Yes,
so many
yes.
years.
And today, though, we are switching gears, definitely something lighter, plenty of laughs and a royal twist. We have a real treat for our real fans.
And we don't often get to watch movies together anymore. And it was really fun to watch this one with you because I did not remember this movie at all. And if you guys did not watch this gem back in the 80s, it is definitely worth watching now. It far exceeded my expectations.
I told you. It was one of my favorites then. The only thing about us watching the movie together this time is we didn't have any popcorn. No fancy popcorn snacks because we were full from our dinner. And so we passed on that. But I'm excited to jump into our movie this week.
Yeah, it was fun getting to be together. We had dinner and we had work the next day. So
That's
we couldn't
right.
stay up late eating popcorn.
That's right.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s.
Welcome to Real Sisters Rewind, back to the 80s, a podcast for people who love movies and wish they were as good now as they were back then. If you're joining us for the first time, we should let you know that we're two sisters who adore films, especially the ones from the 80s. So come along with us as we rewatch and reminisce about our favorite movie moments. I'm Missy.
And I'm Amanda. If you love what you're hearing, please give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. We're sending our Real Sisters stickers to our 5-star reviewers. Just take a screenshot of your review and email it to hello@realsistersrewind.com, and we'll make sure to send you out one of our cool stickers.
They are cool. They are retro. They are fun. Okay, so today we are diving into the hilarious and heartwarming world, that gave me a little trouble there coming out, of Coming to America. This film is it's a blend of like comedy and romance, and it's centered around a charming prince, and he's on a quest to find true love. But before we dive into the entire romantic story, or it's almost like a fairy tale, let's set the scene and go back in time with what was happening in the world when the movie was released and some fascinating facts about the iconic movie.
Well, before we get into what was going on globally, do you remember what you were doing when Coming to America came out? Let me refresh. June 29th, 1988. And did you see it in a theater?
I did see it in the theater. It was the summer before my sophomore year in college. And I was, just off my freshman year, had made a lot of new friends, was excited. And I actually went to the movie theater with a lot of girls I had met in college. We saw it for the first time. And then I saw it multiple times in theaters. What about you? Because you were pretty young, probably.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I don't remember even seeing it like at home, and you had mentioned how you used to watch it all the time. I bet you used to see it at home. Like I bet they showed it on HBO, but I do not remember. It may have been on in passing, but totally did not know this movie. And like I said, it exceeded my expectations. I think I was 11 when it was released,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't have been able to see it in the theaters anyway.
Yeah. So, what was going on in the world, Amanda, when Coming to America hit theaters in 1988? Well, the Summer Olympics were being held in Seoul, South Korea. And
And we just had the Paris Olympics recently.
yes, I was just about to actually say that. And a very famous movie star, since we're a movie podcast, someone I had loved since the 80s had a dramatic part of those closing ceremonies, because in 2028 it will ironically be coming to America again. The Olympics, of course, speaking of that. Specifically, it's coming to LA.
So a tidbit real quick about the Olympics, you saying that. My Madison was asking me when they come, like they've been in America before and they come back, and they were asking me about, they were like, do they have to build all of those venues? Point being is, I know they've had the Olympics in LA before, so do they reuse them? I don't know.
I
just
think they
it's,
do, and they revamp them and give them a fresh new look and all of that.
yeah, that would make sense rather than rebuilding it all again.
Yeah.
All right. So in 1988, this was also the year that George H.W. Bush won the presidential election, succeeding Ronald Reagan. Wasn't he his vice president?
He was, yes.
Okay. The music scene was dominated with artists like George Michael with Fate.
Gotta have
And
faith.
I guess that is after he broke away from Wham.
Yes, it
And
was.
and then Guns N' Roses. The metal bands were becoming really popular, and with songs like Sweet Child O' Mine, and that was such a big part of my like early, well, really all throughout my teens. And that video specifically, I remember when people in my like generation hear that music, everybody automatically like knows the whole song.
That's like, for my generation, it would be like Journey, like Don't Stop Believing or something like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the metal
Hair
music.
bands.
Yeah, not so much. That was just a little bit behind me, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And on the cover of People magazine on this specific week, we had Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Do you remember that debacle?
Yes, I do. And I think she did like a tell-all on a Barbara Walters special. And
Yeah,
yes,
because there was like domestic violence, right?
Yes, there was. Mike Tyson, I mean, I don't know, we could calculate how many years ago this movie was, 88, 98, 08, 18. So over 30 years ago, Mike Tyson is actually doing a fight in this year toward the end of 2024.
He's still going
so
strong.
He's still a kicking. In 1988, in technology, we saw the launch of the first major internet worm. Yes, dear sister, they called it a worm before they called it a virus, which is really kind of gross. But it was the Morris worm. And that worm in particular really raised awareness about cybersecurity, and people began to take it seriously, that like those worms, as they called it, could get into your computer.
They could be a real problem.
They could be.
All right, well, let's get into talking about the movie and sharing some of the movie's fascinating facts. Coming to America was 1 hour and 57 minutes long. In fact, not only was, it still is. And it was a box office hit, grossing over 288 million worldwide.
Amanda, it was made on a $3 million budget and brought in globally, as you said, close to 300 million, right? It was the third highest grossing film in 1988. It came in third behind Rain Man and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. And also, we got to add those two to our list.
Yes.
30 million or 3 million budget?
Did I say three? Yeah, 30 million.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Just wanted to see because I was like, if it was 3 million between, I mean, still 30 million to what it made, but like 3 million.
Yeah, because I mean, the costumes alone were more than that, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Um, it was directed by John Landis and stars Eddie Murphy as Prince Akeem.
And apparently, Amanda, they did get along, right? They actually got into a fist fight on the set over your mama jokes. And somebody's your mama joke went too far and there was a fist fight.
That is crazy. I had no idea. And did you read that
I
or
did when I was doing some research. And I just thought it was so funny.
And also, I can't even imagine Eddie Murphy like seriously getting mad like that. That's
I
really
know,
funny.
especially over jokes since he's a comedian.
Well, anyway, Prince Akeem travels to Queens, New York to find a bride who will love him for who he is, not his royal status, which makes it very fairy tale like, I think.
Yes.
But let's talk about this director. I had no idea when I was watching it until after the fact and doing some research, all the things he directed.
Yeah, he's directed quite a few things.
National Lampoon's Animal House, Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London, Trading Places, which
One
totally
of my
makes
faves.
sense. Yep.
Yes.
Three Amigos, and Beverly Hills Cop 3. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, but do you know what made him famous to our generation in the 80s?
Tell us.
He actually directed Michael Jackson's Thriller video. And here's something else. I guess it's not really a fascinating fact about the movie, but it's a cousin to it, I suppose, is that the dances that were performed in this movie, like the royal dancers that were like presenting to Prince Akeem, etc., Paula Abdul choreographed a lot of the dance moves, and some of the dance moves were actually renditions of the dance from Thriller, just put to a really high tempo.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
Oh my gosh, that is
It makes
really
me want to go
interesting.
watch it again and see if I
It
can.
makes me too.
Yeah.
Me too. She's such a talented choreographer.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that the film features Eddie Murphy, but it also features Arsenio Hall, and they both play multiple characters. They are so freaking talented. Like, you can really see their incredible range, their comedic talent just shine through. Murphy plays not only Prince Akeem, but several other characters, including Clarence the Barber and Randy Watson, a soul singer.
And that, in fact, Missy, Eddie Murphy, his portrayal of all these different characters inspired Tyler Perry to go on and create some of the comedies that he has made in more recent years.
Yes, I can see that because in a lot of his movies, he plays those multiple character roles. That's cool. That's a cool fact.
Yeah. Well, the movie definitely won many fans with humor, such heart in the performances of Murphy and Arsenio Hall. But it did also get some official nominations as well. Coming to America was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Costume and one for Best Makeup. But cannot believe it didn't win.
Yeah, it didn't win, but it was behind 2 really great contenders. Dangerous Liaisons, one for costumes, and then Beetlejuice is the one that beat Coming to America for makeup. And so you can kind of see it for both of those, although I definitely would have picked Coming to America for costume design over Dangerous Liaisons.
Oh, me too. I mean, I can let it go with Beetlejuice. I was gonna suggest that I add this to my petition
Oh
for
Lord, the petition.
for awards, but I can let it go with Beetlejuice.
Okay.
That's pretty reasonable.
But I will tell you this, sister, Arsenio Hall did win for funniest supporting actor from the American Comedy Awards. And more good news. Did you know, because I did not, that there was a sequel to this movie? Yes.
What?
Coming to America, part 2 in 2021.
We have to.
2021.
We've got to watch it.
I know. That's what I was thinking. We should watch it and kind of compare the two. But it actually it had like 12 nominations, and it actually did win one of the awards for something, but it wasn't an Academy Award.
That is wild.
I
In my
know.
research, it didn't come up. But does it have Eddie Murphy and Arsenio
Yes,
Hall in
both
it?
of them. Yes.
Interesting.
So
All
maybe we can come back and do a follow up, maybe a bonus episode on something that's not actually from the 80s, but that was birthed from the 80s.
Yeah, I really want to watch it because I really, really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Did you know that the iconic McDowell's quote unquote restaurant scenes were filmed actually at a Wendy's in Queens?
Wait, they didn't actually film it in a McDonald's in Queens?
No.
Well, you know,
No.
McDowell's may not have the Big Mac, but they did have the Big Mick, which didn't have sesame seeds on the bun.
Oh,
That's so funny. Okay, here's another fascinating fact for you. So after Eddie Murphy had gotten made up for one of the guys in the barbershop, actually, it was the Jewish character named Saul. He had his
Yes.
makeup on, he had his clothing on, and he wanted to test it out. See, that's why it was a contender for an Academy Award. So he got in a golf cart and he drove around Paramount Studios, and he would get out of the cart and say in his regular voice, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Eddie Murphy," and no one believed him. Is that not a hoot?
It is, but I get it because there were some of the characters he played where he was double, and I kind of like I could see the Eddie Murphy in the character,
Right?
but I wasn't sure about that character if it was Eddie Murphy or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was an incredible performance. I mean, all around.
okay, I've got one more, last one. There are some quote unquote cameos if you actually want to call it a cameo. It's technically not because they weren't really famous or well known yet, but they did go on to be very famous.
Yes, but let's share those when we go through the replay. Let's hold off on that fascinating fact because I think
Okay,
it weaves itself into the story well.
Okay.
All right, let's dive into the movie itself. Coming to America opens with Prince Akeem. He's waking up, Amanda. It's his 21st birthday. And this kid, because a 21-year-old is a kid, whether he's a prince or not, right? I mean, a grown-up kid, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He is living in the lap of luxury, which, by the way, where they filmed that, I guess it's another fascinating fact continuing, is a real mansion out in LA. So
Oh, wow.
that
Okay.
palace is a real mansion. But he's living in the African kingdom of Zamunda, sorry. It is fictional, but he wakes up, he's surrounded by opulence and servants who cater to his every need, like every need. And this day is special because on his 21st birthday, he is going to be assigned his bride that evening. He's not very happy about it either, is he?
No, he's not. But I do want to add to this that when you said they cater to his every need, which they absolutely do, and we're talking about how it's similar to a fairy tale, I think he is catered to more than any princess I ever have seen in a Disney movie. Like,
True.
he
Good point.
is definitely on a pedestal. So, like you said, he is not thrilled
Not at
about
all.
about having his wife chosen for him. He wants to find true love on his own terms. Love for who he is.
That's right.
So he convinces his father, King Joffer, played by James Earl Jones, with his
Mufasa.
yes, well, and it's got that Mufasa. He's got that like stoic king, but he's like very dry, witty, which is
Yes. He was
hysterical.
perfect for that role, don't you think? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and it's a perfect like dynamic between he and Eddie Murphy because
yeah.
he is such like a dry, witty humor versus the Eddie Murphy humor. So it's
Kind
a
of
good
over the
play
top.
on,
Yeah.
good play on each other. But anyway, he convinces his dad to let him go to America to find his bride. So his father, assuming that Akeem really just wants to sow his wild oats, agrees and gives him 40 days, saying that the wedding will happen at that time with the chosen bride if Akeem fails.
Yeah, he is not believing that this prince is just going to find true love. He's like, I know what you're up to, kid, right? I know what you're up to. So what happens? Akeem and his loyal friend Simi, played by Arsenio Hall, they set off to America. And when they land at JFK Airport in New York, I love this part. Like Akeem instructs the traffic driver to take them to the poorest part of Queens, which, by the way, they found on a globe that they thought would be a great place to find a queen in Queens. But anyway, he's He's saying that he wants to go to the poorest part because he doesn't want the woman who falls in love with him to fall in love with him because he's a wealthy prince.
That is exactly right. I just have to say here also about Simi, Arsenio Hall, played by, like you said, Arsenio Hall. He cracks me up because I'm like, he is a real loyal guy. Because I would have been like, I am out. Like, this is not for me. Especially once they get dropped off in front of this barber shop. And they are like, wow, this is it. And they meet the main barber.
Welcome to Queens.
Exactly. The main barber, Clarence, who is actually played by Eddie Murphy, and his crew, the barber's crew, played by Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, and Clint Smith.
Yeah. And this is a part, Amanda, where who is sitting in the chair was supposed to have a speaking role, but it got cut. None other than Cuba Gooding Jr.
I know.
He's in the barber chair.
I know, it caught me off guard. And although he did not say a word, it still made me laugh out loud just because I was like, oh my gosh, there's
I know. We were sitting there and I was like, we rewound it and had to watch that part again.
Yeah. So they find a rundown apartment. And I think a rundown apartment is like a nice way of saying, like, this is a really rundown apartment to stay in and begin their adventure. And if I was Simi, this is when I would have been like, bye.
See ya. Peace out.
Yeah. And like I said, this is super rundown. And it's also, when I thought about it, this is in the 80s before the big like New York crime cleanup happened. And so it was really bad.
Yeah.
These initial scenes when they first get dropped off in Queens are hysterical, especially, oh my gosh, they roll up in their taxi with all the luggage strapped to the
Louis
top.
Vuitton luggage, might we add. I mean, like stacks of it.
And then when they come out, they get dropped off and then they come out from the barbershop and all their stuff is stolen right away. And they're just so naive. They just are clueless.
And then do you remember in the next scene, we see all the people like wearing all of their clothes. Like you see people like with their hats and their scarves and the clothes that they stole from them.
Yeah. And they're like standing around the fire. And it's really funny.
Yeah, it's great. It's brilliant. Okay. So moving on, it's time for the task at hand, right? Like Akeem and Simi are going to try and find Akeem's wife. And so what do? They hit the social scene. They head out to the bars. And as you might imagine, they meet some rather crazy characters. None of them are a good fit to be princess, right? And they're feeling discouraged. on their way back, they run into Clarence the barber, who's locking up the barber shop, and they tell him they're struggling. And Clarence says, you can't find nice girls in bars. You got to try places like libraries or churches or even at the community center where I'm headed for a rally. So he's like, come on with me. I'll help you find some girls.
Yes, he invites him to the rally. And when they get there, we see some golden arches to the side.
Yeah, just kind of subtly placed over there. But Amanda, they aren't arches, they're arcs. They're arcs.
Which we will find out. That is right, because McDowell's is
Not McDonald's.
is a local fast food joint owned by Cleo McDowell, and he is a sponsor at the rally. And he is the dad from Good Times, James Evans.
Yes.
And remember, Janet Jackson was Penny.
Yeah, she was adorable. She still is a beautiful woman, but she was such a precious child.
She was so cute. Remember, there was like some abuse or something in her storyline.
No, I didn't remember that. Let's don't go there now, but I'll research that later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, it's here. Akeem first sees Lisa McDowell, played by Sherry Headley, and is immediately smitten.
Well, she is beautiful.
I was just about to say, she is, talk about precious. Oh my gosh, she is just precious. And during the rally, Lisa asks for donations, and Akeem generously puts a huge pile of money in the basket.
Yeah, I love it. He puts out his hand to Simi, and Simi knows he's got to give him money. And it's a big wad of money he places in Akeem's hand. He throws it in the basket.
Yeah, and it's totally anonymous, right?
Right.
He just puts it in there with nobody knows who put it in there.
Right. She asked, he granted her wish.
Exactly. But Lisa's sleazy boyfriend, Daryl, later takes credit for it because he didn't have, it was, like I said, it was anonymous. Daryl.
That was yucky. He took credit for it and he didn't put it in. Because she, I guess, assumed it was him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Because he was wealthy.
Right.
Not like a prince, but he was well off. But Daryl, AKA, did you realize he's Dr. Peter Benton from ER? Eric LaSalle.
I knew he looked familiar, and I know you said that, but here's a little trivia for you about your sister. I have never seen an episode of ER. I know it's full of famous people, George Clooney, Juliana Margulies, I think is her name. I've never seen it. It was just at that time in my life where I wasn't watching TV.
Yeah. Oh, I had that time in my life too. Well, I highly recommend you going back and watching it.
That might be something fun to do. Yeah, I might rewind back to ER. Okay, so here we go. Akeem is in love, right? And he is determined to get to know Lisa better. So what does he tell Simi they're going to do? They're going to march on down to McDowell's and apply for jobs. And as you said, Simi is not thrilled about the idea of manual labor because it's just not his thing, right? He's fine to wait on the prince and live in the lap of luxury, but he doesn't want to have a job for sure. But Akeem, no, he gets that job. He dives right in. I think this is one of the things I love so much about this movie is because Akeem could be this snooty, I'm not going to do that because I'm a prince kind of person, but he's just so humble and he just takes pride in every task he's given and he doesn't mind starting at the bottom. And what happens is that humility and that dedication really make him stand out, and Lisa starts to notice his plan is working.
Yeah, and and you say that about he could have been more like the Simi character, right?
Yes.
I think Simi was kind of well taken care of as well, and so he could have been more like Simi. But I like how you described him because in my mind it's almost like a naivete, But you're right. I think it is more like he's humble and his humility
Yeah.
is a better description.
Yeah.
But Akeem hears that rich guys get all the girls. So he, again,
That Louis
anonymously.
Anderson character is the one who says that, isn't he?
Yes.
He's one of the McDowell workers.
Yes, yes,
And he's like,
yes,
rich
that's
guys
right.
get all the girls.
Well, yeah, because he's saying that because Daryl is considered
Like in
rich, the
his
boyfriend.
Ferrari or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, probably a Corvette. Anyway, so he decides to send Lisa.
Akeem decides.
Akeem,
Akeem
yes, yeah.
decides. Okay.
Yes, so he can, get the girl. He sends Lisa a pair of expensive earrings. They're stunning. And
Rubies and diamonds.
they're like super gorgeous. It's like something, from Pretty Woman or something. But he lets her know that they are from an admirer, but not Daryl.
Not Daryl. That was hysterical. He wanted to be really clear. Like, I'm not going to tell you who I am, but honey, these are not from Daryl. It cracked me up.
Yeah, and then he hears, and this is good advice, that winning over the father is key to getting the girl. So he sets out to impress Cleo McDowell at work.
And Cleo is really taken back by Akeem's enthusiasm for his job. He finds it strange, weird, whatever. But things change. Cleo changes his thoughts of Akeem whenever there is a robber that comes in to hold up the restaurant, and we have another cameo. Amanda, it was Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, it was wild. I literally thought it was Pulp Fiction all over again. Like it was just, I was like, oh my gosh, this is Pulp Fiction. And one other thing about the robber is we find out that this has happened many
not
times
his first
before.
time, but it is his last probably, because he comes in with his popping that gun, and Akeem and Simi are going to stop this robbery, right? They're used to doing all the tricks with the long, I don't know what you call those things, long sticks. We should have researched that. We need to find that and put it in the show notes. But they are going to break up the robbery. So they grab broom handles and they just totally take the robber down, save everyone's life by the art they learned at their homeland. And Cleo is so grateful that he invites them to a party at his house that night. They're so excited. I mean, Akeem's thinking, all right, I'm going to be at a social gathering with Lisa. But they get there, Amanda, and they're expected to work. He puts them to work as valets.
And the bartender. He's the valet and the bartender.
Yes, that's
I would want to be the bartender because you get to be inside.
Right.
But later that night, Lisa gets ticked off at Daryl for presumably announcing their engagement without her consent. So he's like, hey, everybody, I just want to announce.
Let's lift a glass.
Yeah, let's lift a glass and toast to our engagement. But she's not been proposed to yet.
Yeah, she got hacked off.
Yeah, it was without her consent completely. And so she, storms off, and she and Akeem end up talking, and
out by the swings.
Out by the swings. It's so cute. And that leads to their official date.
It was so sweet. It just was a sweet moment. I just think this movie is full of sweet moments.
It is really sweet, and Akeem is a really sweet character.
Yeah,
I really love it.
I know, I do too. Okay, so while all this is going on, Simi is getting sick and tired, Amanda, of this humble lifestyle. And
me too, Simi. Me too.
And he's running out of the money to, buy his hot tubs for inside their, apartment. But he sends a message to the king asking for more money. But it kind of backfires on him, because what does the king do? He loads up his queen and all of those rose-dropping flower girls, and they come to America to see what the heck is going on. They're going to find Akeem and figure out why all the money is gone.
Yeah. And they're going to find their renovated apartment that Simi has created.
With all the like disco lights and stuff in it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the arrival of the royal parents in Queens is hysterical
Yeah, it
because it
is.
is everything you would think of in a fantasy, fairy tale of the royal parents coming
And
in.
the king, Amanda, is wearing Mufasa on his lapel, right? He's got this big lion wrap on and right next to his face. And I guess that's foreshadowing because
It
Lion
was
King hadn't come out and he's got this big lion's face and mane right there on his lapel.
absolutely. I was like, oh my gosh, Mufasa, foreshadowing. There
That's
we go.
right.
Well, the royal presence of the king and queen against the backdrop that they have set in Queens is
Yes.
comedy gold. Leo McDowell is thrilled to learn that his daughter is actually dating a prince. See, this is a golden opportunity.
Oh, now he's thrilled. Before
Right.
he wanted her to be with the other guy because
With
he was
Daryl.
rich, right? With Daryl. But now it's wealth beyond his imagination. And it's bound to happen. Lisa finds out that he's a prince. And of course, she feels betrayed. She's actually pissed off. The girl can get mad, right? She really is mad when she finds out about Akeem's true identity. I mean, like, come on, girl. You've got you a prince now. That's what I wanted to say, right? But no, she's mad. And everybody on the subway is watching her as they're coming back from that date. Just chew him out, right? Like, how could you have? And on the subway, man, I love this. He's like, I renounce my throne. I give it all up to be with you. But she won't have it. She gives him a big fat no, and she walks out of that subway door. But did you notice what she had on her ears as
Yep.
she walked out? So she may not want a prince, but she's certainly wearing some royal jewelry, even though she didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, and real quick, sidebar about the subway in 19, what did we say, this is 88?
Yeah.
It was a mess. I
Yes,
was
it
like,
was.
oh my
I know.
gosh.
I know
I
it
don't
was.
think if I were her, I would be wearing those earrings on that subway in 1988. That was
Right.
rough.
Yep.
It was very different. Well, poor Akeem, bless his heart, returns. He's brokenhearted, and they end up returning to Zamunda, feeling so sad because he has lost Lisa, who
His
is
one
the
true
love,
love.
his one true love, and he's gonna have to marry the other girl from the original scene where they, had the chosen bride. And he didn't want to marry her.
Right. And so all of a sudden, it takes us to the royal wedding. And we're thinking that Akeem is about to marry the bride that his dad had chosen for him. But the music's playing. She walks down the aisle, and like all fairy tales, we get a happy ending because as she lifts her veil, we see Lisa. And so all of a sudden, we're all celebrating. He's surprised because true love actually did win in this story.
It's so sweet and heartwarming. It's like a comedy fairy tale,
It
and I
is.
I really loved it. And I just thought of something though I hadn't thought of until you said that. I wonder, since he didn't know it was Lisa, if Lisa was like, well, I guess he was just gonna marry that other girl.
He's not really chasing after me. He just left the country. Maybe that's what the sequel's about. Hey, I've been thinking about this, and you're going to marry that other girl. Shame on you. Well, I
Right,
really
right.
loved the movie too, Amanda. I loved it then, and I love it now. But the question is, right, as it always is, sister, does this movie stand the test of time?
It stands the test of time for me, maybe more than some of the ones we've already watched. I just thought it was such a sweet story that was hilarious and just a twist on, a romantic comedy.
Yeah,
And
it
it
was
was,
clever, right? It was
mhm,
clever. It was sweet. It was beautiful to watch. The costuming and the makeup. I definitely agree with you. It stands the test of time.
And also, is it rated R? I think it is.
Yes,
I
it
need to
is.
look.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that's probably why I didn't see it when I was younger. But for it to be rated R, it's still so
So
clean.
tame.
Like
It's so tame.
I really want my kids to watch it. I think it's a really good, funny movie.
It
I
really
really
is.
enjoyed it.
It really is. All right. So now that we've explored Akeem's royal journey through Queens, Amanda, let's switch gears to another adventure.
Adventure to say the least.
That's right.
All right, here's a clue. Our next film is from the early 80s, and it involves an epic quest that takes the hero across the globe.
It does indeed. The movie that we're going to do next features an iconic hat and whip, and it has some of the most thrilling action scenes of its time, or perhaps of all time.
Right, yeah. And one last hint, the film's hero is someone that is going to face numerous dangers and uncover ancient secrets.
Ooh. All right, real fans, do you think you know what it is? Tune in next week to find out if you're right.
And can I say one more thing about that?
Sure.
Next week, when we are reviewing this special 80s film, we're going to have a special guest on with us that knows
Yes, we
a
are.
lot about this film, everything and more that you could imagine.
Absolutely, you're exactly right.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for this hilarious journey through Coming to America. Don't forget to follow us on social media and share your thoughts about the movie.
And remember, if you love our podcast, please leave us a review and spread the word. All right.
Bye.
Bye,
for
everyone.
now.
Bye, sister.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.